Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am pleased to be bringing back Rik Offenberger. He's been on the show multiple times. Once again, he is here to talk about his G-Man campaign, which is running through all the month of February. Rik, tell the fans a little bit about it and who might enjoy G-Man comics.
Hey, thanks for having me back on the podcast. I do really appreciate it. We do a Kickstarter twice a year. And so on the 1st of February and the 1st of August, we launch a new Kickstarter. G-Man Comics is a shared universe. I have my characters, Eric has his characters, Gilbert has his characters, and we all mix them together into one big shared universe, image comic style, where we all own our own characters. Our characters flow back and forth between each other's comics. In addition to that, we have a lot of friends in the indie comic business. So we always have a lot of characters moving in and out of the comics from other people's universes. And Eric actually was the publisher of the Indieverse handbook. And in there, each page was a different comic universe from a different creator. So we really like indie comics, and we really like crossing over between our characters with each other and with other characters that we enjoy and feel like we're part of a bigger universe.
So I'm curious, you choose February and August for your campaigns. Why those months?
We cover a large portion of the calendar in general because we try and preview our stuff the month before so that when the Kickstarter starts, it doesn't start up blind so that people know what's going on. We want to do that in January. The reason we want to do that in January is we don't want to do it in November and December when people are focused on Christmas. We wanted to wait till after the holidays so people have a little bandwidth to pay attention to what we're doing and to enjoy what we're doing. The Kickstarter campaign runs for a full month, and so that covers the whole month of February. And then it takes about 6 weeks from the time we turn the files over and the money over to the printer to get things ready. And they both print and ship for us. And we appreciate the fine folks at Kablam Comics for printing for us all these years. And since they handle all of our logistics and postage and shipping and boxing and everything, as well as the printing, that takes about 6 weeks with all our international orders and everything picked and printed and shipped out. And so we want people to have the comic in hand. We want them to read it. We want them to enjoy it and decide maybe they wanted to get another comic from us. And so that brings us to July, when we start showing people the artwork for the next campaign, when we start telling people we're coming back. Hopefully you enjoyed what we did last time. And during all this time, the artists we get the money from Kickstarter, we split the money up with all the artists and we get everyone paid, and they're busily working on the next issue. But we can't support those kind of page rates, and our artists aren't at the point where they want to do a page a day either. We all have day jobs in this field of independent comics. And so if they do a page a week, that kind of does everything for us because we publish more than one comic at a time, but each comic has 20 pages. You got to go 20 weeks to get there. Plus a cover, you're at 21 weeks. That pretty much covers our calendar. August is 6 months after February, and we split the year in half.
All right, so let's say a fan pledges for the lowest tier that's on the campaign. What do they get for that lowest tier?
We start off at $5 for a digital copy of any of the comics you want. We typically publish somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 comics in each Kickstarter. There are three of us. We all have a variety of comics. I've got 4 comics in the Kickstarter. Eric has 2 comics in the Kickstarter. And then we have 3 comics from Gilbert. If you buy the other comics, you get a free copy of the handbook. So that part's always fun too.
So if they pledge for the highest tier, what does that get them?
We've published 91 comics so far. By the end of the year, we'll hit 100 comics. But at 91 comics, you can buy the entire catalog all in one shot. And that is actually our highest tier, is one of each. You're probably not a returning customer if you're looking to buy everything and you haven't read anything yet. But every campaign, there's someone who does buy everything and joins our universe for the first time. We also have a retailer tier where you can get a retailer exclusive cover on any one of the comics we've published over the last 7 years. So if you want one from this campaign or you want an older comic, our art director, Gilbert, will draw a new cover for you. And if you have a retail shop, we can feature your shop, we can feature you. If you have a mascot character, we can feature the mascot character on the cover, and we'll do a special variant cover just for your shop. And so then you'll have shelf copies and you can take it to conventions or just sell it to your regular customers. We do have a Join the G-Man tier. It took me 31 years from the time I created my first comic and we made ash cans and sold the ash cans and wanted to produce Lynx as a comic. And I had a retail comic store at the time. I was a comic shop owner. And each week, as we produced a page, I would make photocopies and I would stick it in everyone's pull list. So they got one page a week of the comic as it was developing. And then when we were done, we sold the ash can. And the idea was that we would publish the comic. And then I got divorced and the shop closed, and we never actually published the comic. But 30 years later, I did publish the comic, that exact comic. And I was still in contact with my customer, who was a teenager at the time, but is now obviously an adult. And I produced copies and gave him copies, and we sold them in the campaign. It's just a piece of our history. The character isn't quite the same as the character is now, but the basis is the same. And these are characters I've loved and had with me for my whole life. And so I want people to have that same experience, and I don't want them to have to wait 30 years. With Agent Kirby, every issue we have a Join the G-Man campaign, and 6 people get to pledge to have their original character join the comic. And so we add you in as a cameo character, and you're in a splash page with the other characters. You're in a few panels here and there because the comic's done except for adding in the extra characters. And then we also put you in the handbook so you get a full-size picture of your character, and you can use that later on any promotion you're doing for your own campaign. And several of these people have gone on to publish their own comics later. And some people just think it's cool to have this. And
S-
so we're happy to contribute.
Simon and Kirby is coming back. I assume that G-Man United and Lynx are returning.
We're doing a real big crossover for the whole campaign. Agent Kirby, Simon and Kirby, the agent, will have 6 guest stars. First Guard, which is a team that started in the last campaign, we're on the second issue, is going to cross over with the Silver Age First Guard, and it's JLA, JSA style. Global G-Men is going to cross over with the Flying Dutchman, and so he'll be appearing in there. We've got a Heidi Dara crossover, and Heidi's crossing over into our universe. She was in the Indie Girl pinup book that we had done before, if you're a returning customer. And Highlight Arena is going to be all crossovers. Gilbert does a Gilbert Monsanto Arena on Facebook, and for $10, he draws a picture of your character and you join the arena, and then everyone campaigns to have their character win the battle. And he waits till he has enough contestants to do a battle, and people just vote. And people are campaigning why their character should win. And then when they vote, the winning characters get a mock cover that Gilbert draws. And so you get to see your character and what it would look like on a comic cover. And he's going to take several of those pinups and we're going to put them in the comic. And he's going to have a lead-in story explaining how the whole thing works for comic fans and why it works that way. And it ties into his highlight comic. Then in Lynx, we're going to guest star the Golden Age Catman and Kitten. The Lynx is the same kind of idea. You've got a male and female superhero that team up. In Lynx, they're a couple. And in the old Catman and Kitten, he was an uncle and a niece. But I'm going to compare and contrast too, because we'll be telling the story in modern times where they're trapped in a museum that's being robbed. And at the same time, Catman and Kitten are going to be in the middle of the comic reflecting a time when they were in a robbery. And so you'll see in both cases they're canine villains attacking the feline characters. And so it's nice to see. And it's a different artist for the flashback with Catman and Kitten so that it looks different and it gives a different feel. And it's a fun exercise to do. With Sergeant Flag #7, we're leading into convention season. I'm a longtime participant to the San Diego Comic-Con. I was an Eisner judge. I've done a lot of presentations for different panels at San Diego. And I've got a lot of friends who are indie creators there as well. And so we're going to take the characters to the San Diego Superhero Con. because they're comic characters in the superhero universe. They're not collecting comics. They're there to talk about themselves, basically, as superheroes, to recruit, to do panels. And Sergeant Flag's on a panel, and a fight breaks out, as they do in superhero comics. And they burst through the wall, Mel Brooks style, if you ever saw Blazing Saddles. And they spill onto the convention floor. And on the convention floor, we got 29 cameo appearances by other characters from other creators. And some of them are some of my favorite characters from the 90s, and some of them are new creators who are friends of ours. And so the fight will break out onto the convention floor, and you'll just see cameos of Countess Dracula, Fiona McCool, Flair, Captain Polska, Nightwolf, Man in the Mask, Marshall Strong, Marvelous, She-Bat, Omnia, Red Hook, Rob Hayes, Shadowhawk, Zathras She, Spider Squirrel, Silver Steel Wolf, T-Man, Tomorrow Girl, Zen Intergalactic Ninja, and Zombie Tramp. And so it's just fun that they're the ones presenting at the convention, and they'll be at their little booths, just like the creators are at the booths instead of the superheroes at the booths. And that's going to be a lot of fun for us. Then in Tyrannus, we're going to have Demolition Squad from Bold Frontier Comics. And then we're debuting an all new title, Macho Comics #1. And it's one of our anthology titles that would take the place of G-Men United in this particular run. And we'll have 3 stories in that book. And we're trying to mix things up, and we're trying to be part of the independent universe of different creators.
So, how many creators are involved this time around? And are there some returning and some new people involved in the G-Man campaign this time?
We brought in a new colorist on Lynx. Milton got to pick his own colorist, and he had someone he really wanted to bring in, and it is a different palette, and so that part's nice. John comes in with his character Heidi, and so he's joining us with the Dara Heidi crossover, and for which he actually drew out by hand in the whole comic into and dialogued by hand the whole comic, and so then Gilbert drew the comic from the drawings that John had made, and then Eric co-dialogued the thing based on the script that was put up by hand. But I hadn't seen that before. I'd heard tales like that. Mike Barron used to like to work that way, where he would put the whole comic and he'd draw a whole mini comic first, and then they give that to the artists for the script. I haven't seen it firsthand. I've just heard. And I know Mike too. It's always fun to have to cross over with different people, to work with new people, but it's a regular band of people. We got Fernando, who's doing the Fly story, is new with us. He had done some pinups in the last campaign, but most of those pinups are coming in as covers. But we did them on the inside front cover behind the text last campaign. But we're always expanding. It seems like we put out a lot of comics, but we only publish twice a year. And so we put them all together so they ship in one package, because you ship all your comics and you can put 6 comics in a box at the exact same price that you can put 1 comic in a box. And so the problem with independent comics and Kickstarter is that there's a tax on this, where you pay for the comic, but then you have to pay for the boxing and the shipping, and that becomes expensive just for 1 unit. And so we amortize that across our line with the shipping all clumped together. And so it should save people money. And if you're a fan, you can buy just the 1 comic, or you can get multiples at a discounted shipping rate. And then it's $10 for a print comic. And you don't really want to pay $10 and then pay more than 50% of that in shipping after you've paid $10 for the comic. And so it's nice if you can split that up into smaller bite-sized bits for each comic.
So, what advice would you give to people that are thinking of starting their Kickstarter campaigns in the future?
Kickstarter is really great for comic creators. You need to engage with the fans first. You can't start blind and expect people to know you're out there. My advice is to start by sharing your art, sharing the process, let people see what you're doing and be interested in what you're doing. We post little bits of art all year long. They get to see the comics develop and create slowly as we work on them. Just the month before the campaign, we start releasing a whole lot more art and letting people know we're coming and what to expect in each of the comics. I think that would work well for anyone. I think that you need to build an audience. You need to show people what you're doing. Marvel and DC send out their solicitations so that people know what to order from the catalog, so people know what to expect when they get to the comic shop. And as an independent creator, you have to do the exact same thing. You just have to do it yourself. You have to get the word out. You have to build an audience. And then you have to do what you say you're going to do. The big problem that people have with Kickstarter is they pledge for Kickstarter and they're promised that the comic will come at some time, and then the comic doesn't. And the longer it takes to receive what you were promised beyond the date that you were promised, the more disgruntled people will get. And so if you tell people you're going to deliver, we have the Kickstarter in February. We end the Kickstarter in March. We don't get the funds till mid-March. We tell everyone they're going to get the comics in May. We have hit that target every single time. The people we turn everything over to Kablam, and the people of Kablam make sure that that's a realistic date and that everything prints and ships and is delivered on time. And you have to give people what they paid for. You're taking their money in advance, and you have to take responsibility for that and be professional with that and deliver. People have to feel they got their money's worth.
So, Rik, before we wrap this up, any final words, comments?
All right, I've got to tell you, I am so appreciative of all the people who allowed their characters to appear in our comic. It's just really heartwarming. They're all people that I know and care about, and makes me feel good about the whole thing. In addition to the Kickstarter, which is coming out, we've been in the Filbo catalog and we've been in comic shops as they're republishing the early issues of Agent Kirby. 1 through 4 have been solicited. In the current catalog, we've got Sergeant Flag #1 being solicited. So if you wanted to get these at your local comic shop, you can order them through your comic shop. And then we also have a collection of trade paperbacks that we were listing at Christmas. And of course, they're still available on Indie Planet for people who want to just get one small collection of some of the titles. But we're real excited that we have these new comics coming out for you. We're real excited with our returning creators. We've got Gilbert on Agent Kirby. We've got Ron Williams on First Guard. He's been with us since the beginning. Gilbert's doing his Global Men. He's also doing the art on the Heidi Dara book and on Highlight and on our handbook. He's very, very, very busy. We got Milton, who was our original artist, back on Lynx #1, back on Lynx. And we've got Enrique on Sergeant Flag. And we've got Lewis on Tyrannus. And we're happy to have the band back together. And we're happy to put out all these comics. And we hope you enjoy them. We put out a strong 80s, 90s style comic with some modern sensibilities to it. But we try and have a good time, and we hope you enjoy it with us.
Rik
Oh,
Offenberger,
you can find us at
go on.
sorry, say,
No, go ahead.
we're at g-man-comics.com, and that will have a link to our Kickstarter. It'll also have all the covers from all the comics we've already produced and who's who for our heroes and villains. So if you want to get up to speed or you want to know about the characters in the comics, if you've already bought them, you can find it all there.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show.